Here's a question that should keep you up at night. What happens to a constitution that everyone claims to worship but fewer people actually believe in? Because that's where we are. We're told the system is strained but stable, that checks and balances are humming along like a Swiss watch, that the founders built a political Roomba that just needs a little oil and an amendment every 40 years or so. We talk about the Constitution like it descended from heaven on stone tablets, hand-delivered by James Madison with a quill pen and a halo. And if politics feels like a cage match refereed by blindfolded lawyers, relaxed. That's just democracy being spicy. Wrong answer, but thanks for playing. That's actually the smoke alarm going off while we argue about who installed it. I mean, look around. Trust in Congress is lower than a limbo contest in hell. Presidents governed by executive order like they're speed-running civilization's imperial phase. Courts decide policy because the legislature can't decide what day it is without polling data. States in Washington bicker like divorced parents who both want custody of the thermostat. That's not a healthy republic. That's institutional decay wearing a powdered wig and insisting that everything smells like freedom. Here's the part that nobody likes. Constitutions don't die when they're repealed. They die when people stop believing they work. And history is very clear about what comes next. Spoiler, it's not a book club. The founders understood this. They didn't duct tape the Articles of Confederation and call it patriotism. They scrapped it. They held a convention. They argued. They rewrote the rules. That wasn't rebellion. That was maintenance. But today we treat the 1787 document like it's a vintage Corvette locked in a museum. Look, but don't touch. Heaven forbid we upgrade the engine. We've got lifetime judicial appointments in an era when people live well into their 90s. Election systems designed for men on horseback trying to manage a nuclear superpower with Wi-Fi. And congressional districts that look like a toddler viciously attacked a map with spaghetti. And we call this stability? That's not stability. That's inertia with a flag pin. Now hear me clearly. Rewriting or modernizing the Constitution isn't anti-founding fathers. It's the most founding fathers thing you can do. That's not tearing the republic down. That's reinforcing the load-bearing beams before the ceiling collapses. So back to the question. What happens when people stop believing in the Constitution? Well, history gives us the answer. You don't get calm reform. You get demagogues. You get unrest. You get people deciding that the rules don't matter because they think the system never did. The irony is that the loudest defenders of the founders' legacy are often the most determined to freeze their work in amber. But the founders didn't freeze anything. They replaced a broken system. So here's the real question. Are we brave enough to do what they did, or are we only brave enough to quote them? Because the cost of action is debate, but the cost of inaction is collapse.